Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Lobby. Joining me today is Nikhil Sharma, Managing Director of Radisson Hotels Group for the South Asia region. Welcome to the show, Nikhil.
Thank you, Vivek.
I can think of very few professionals who in a 20-year time frame would have reached where you are. What's the recipe?
You've done it multiple times already in your career. There is no secret recipe or secret sauce to it. At the end of the day, two words, and they may be overstated, but passion and hard work.
What were the first few things that you identified as immediate priority and midterm priority? What was your understanding of something that was not working well? Take us through the first few months.
Where have I come? Why did I do this?
How were you able to balance the trade-off? Because जब growth का सवाल आता है तो guest experience hamper होता है. If you start focusing on quality and experience, तो you may end up saying no to revenue opportunities or expansion opportunities. How did you manage the two sides of the trade-off?
So two or three things. It's important that you start small. You shrink to grow. Ray Kroc said something which is, if you're not green and growing, you're red and rotten.
McDonald's founder.
The McDonald's founder.
What are some of the other common principles that you have acquired throughout your career and you believe is applicable in multiple scenarios?
You don't like the work you're doing, quit. Do something that you like doing, because if you don't like it, you're not going to move ahead. It's just a job.
I've seen a very drastic change in these 20 years. We run a skilling company, and in order to create a funnel for my skilling courses, we go to schools and we do career counseling of 12th class students. So last year we counseled about 2 lakh students on which career path they should take after class 12th. I have seen a drastic dip in the number of people proactively asking for hospitality as a career path. What are some of the 2 or 3 things that has created a dent on this industry as a preferred choice of employment?
If you look at it from a grassroots level, Vivek, let's take the IT industry as an example. 20 years ago, IT companies started working with engineering colleges and making sure that the colleges are ready from an employability perspective.
Yes.
That didn't happen with hotel management in this part of the world.
We can actually be the de facto talent supplier to the whole world when it comes to hospitality. It's maybe true for a lot of other sectors as well, but particularly for hospitality, when you walk into a new role as a leader, it's very tempting to think of कि पहले जिसने अभी तक किया सब गलत है. But there is decades of sweat and blood invested in the setup, into taking the setup to where it is today, respecting what it is today before jumping on and thinking where do you want to take it is a crucial part of any leader's success.
I think what I'll add there, as a leader, you need to have a strong opinion, but the conviction should be loosely held. When you listen to your people, your conviction and your opinion could change. It doesn't have to be my way and this is the only way, and you learn how to navigate with your team. We live in a world of quarters. There is a quarter goal that you have to reach. You have to have the vision to do this, but you have to have the small wins in between. Life is a marathon, but there's many sprints to that marathon. You have to break down your goals into smaller pieces and make sure that the team is delivering with you on those smaller goals.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Lobby. Joining me today is Nikhil Sharma, Managing Director of Radisson Hotels Group for the South Asia region. Welcome to the show, Nikhil.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you for having us.
Great. Before we dig into the podcast, Nikhil, I wanted to share a story with my viewers on why I thought that you will be very, very relevant as a guest on this podcast. And that's the reason why I chased you. So about 6 or 7 months ago, I was in the Indian School of Business at Hyderabad. I was speaking, that's my alma mater. So I was speaking to the current batch of students. And a question popped up about let's say hustling at work, going through the grind in the early years. So the overall vibe was that अगर सबको 3 साल में मैनेजर, 6 साल में असिस्टेंट मैनेजर, 9 साल में जनरल मैनेजर, और जब तक आप HOD बनोगे किसी डिपार्टमेंट के तब तक आपको रिटायरमेंट नजर आने लग जाती है. तो अगर ले दे के सबको पहुंचना वही है, more or less everyone has to reach the same level and everyone has to take the same amount of time, then why hustle at work, or why focus on your career? Why prioritize it over other things or other temptations in life? I was actually scared to answer that question because I did not want to get dragged into the work 60 hours work-life balance debate. But I think what I wasn't able to convincingly answer them because I could not come up with hard-hitting examples back then. So, in that context, if those students are watching the show, or if youngsters who are considering hospitality as a profession are watching the show, I would proudly say that we have a live example on the show today. A man who started from the front office not long back, from front office to the MD's chair in flat 2022 years. So, your story is absolutely inspirational, Nikhil. And we would look forward to hear more about it.
Thank you for your kind words.
So,
Appreciate it.
so Nikhil, let's start from the scratch. Take us through uh, about your upbringing. Where do you come from? What were the experiences and influences that shaped you into who you are?
Okay, that's a lot of questions in this first go. I was born in Delhi, Vivek, and my dad was a salesman. So he ended up a little bit of upbringing in Pune, and then we ended up in a small town called Muscat in the Sultanate of Oman, where I did my schooling. So I did my 10th and 12th from there. Initially, the plan was to come back to Symbiosis. I love economics, and the idea was to do economics and then go for further studies outside, God willing. So, because in the Middle East, you had a lot of European colleges coming in there and a lot of hotel management colleges at that time coming there. I became really interested in hotel management. I told my dad that I want to do hotel management, and he said, "It's not as glamorous as you think." And I kept, I was in my head. The more I spoke to him, as a teenager, you have that rebel in you,
Yeah.
right?
Especially between boys and their fathers.
Oh yeah. It's just special, right? I kept digging that rabbit hole, and he kept telling me no, and I said, "मुझे hotel management करना है." So lo and behold, we are in 12th, and he says, "What have you decided?" I said, "मुझे hotel management करना है." He says, "Okay, if that is what you want to do, there is a college in India, in Delhi, entrance exam है, उसके बाद interview है. If you make it, you can do hotel management. Otherwise, you will do what I'm telling you. You will go to Pune and you will do your BCom as planned." तो उस वक्त हिम्मत तो हुई नहीं कि बोलने की मुझे तो यूरोप जाना है, आप मुझे इंडिया भेजने की बात कर रहे हैं. But as luck would have it, I made it to that college. It's called IHM Pusa.
Okay.
And went and studied hotel management. And hustle continues even today.
Wow. Nikhil, so coming back to the story that I shared at the beginning of the podcast, a lot of people in this generation thinks that outlier outcomes cannot comes. So what's the point of giving it all? What were some of the things that helped you in building a career that I would say was, by all means, was an outlier? I mean, I can think of very few professionals who, in a 20-year time frame, would have reached where you are. I would also give a lot of credit to the industry, by the way. I have seen in a lot of other industry, the senior management is always parachuted from either fancy business colleges or investment banking or let's say consulting backgrounds. So a lot of credit goes to the industry as well, that the industry is known to groom leaders from within. But very few people achieve the kind of scale that you have achieved in such a, I would say, short span of time. What's the recipe?
Vivek, I mean, you've done it multiple times already in your career, and the recipe, there is no secret recipe or secret sauce to it. I think at the end of the day, two words, and they may be overstated, but passion and hard work and the resilience to carry on is extremely important. And we all have ups and downs. I mean, sitting on that side, it feels very fancy that, stellar career, but the career has had many ups and downs, like most careers do, right? But a few things about the industry. Second largest industry, if you look at from a recruitment perspective in India after agriculture. It's an industry that gives you the opportunity, and you said this in the beginning, very, very few industries give you that opportunity where you start from a front desk or as an F&B server and become general managers or become corporate executives, right? Of course, God's been kind. I have had the opportunity to work with amazing professionals who have had the trust in me and have let me do what I wanted to do. But my only thing is, you have to be a little unconventional, and you have always wanted, it's not a 9 to 5 job. And there's a lot of debate on work-life balance, and we can talk about that later. But the reality is that be good at what you do today for that job or that position that you want tomorrow. It's extremely important to do it right today and focus on that today.
Sure. Nikhil, character gets built in the early formative years of somebody's career. So let's double click on the first few years of your career out of IHM. Take us through the initial years because I'm a firm believer, at least, that what you do in the second or the third leg of your career or second or the third decade of the career matters. That also matters, but I think the first 10 years or the first decade matters the most because that's what build the foundation, that's what build the character. We would love to understand how that journey went for you.
So I started at Taj Palace as a HOMT. But let me just tell you a story before that, right? So campus interviews, and I was shortlisted. At that time, you didn't have international brands present in this.
Taj and Oberoi, right?
It was Taj, Oberoi, ITC, really, right?
Yeah.
So I was shortlisted as a final candidate for the Oberoi group of hotels. I was also shortlisted in Taj, but Taj was an HOMT position vis-a-vis Oberoi's was a management trainee position.
Oh, okay. The OCLD.
OCLD.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't make it through, and at OCLD, and I think today people say it's depression. I was probably depressed for a few days, or a week or two. One doesn't remember now, but at that point of time, my dad said, "Listen, get up, move on. It's okay." So it's important to then pick your feet up and then take the other opportunity and do the best at what you've given, right? I mean, God has a plan for everyone. Again, you do your best, and that's how I started with Taj Palace. At Taj Palace at that time, there were two gentlemen, Patu Keswani, who started Lemon Tree.
Of course.
At that time he was a general manager, and Rahul Pandit, who was also part of Lemon Tree, was revenue manager, and revenue at that time in the country was, let me just say, not even 9 months old. If you look at it, it was premature baby at that point of time. They both believed in me, and that's how I eventually started working with them in Lemon Tree as well. Of course, after that, life took a different turn.
At what point of time did you decide that you are going to take a punt? Of course, you had a history with Patu and Mr. Pandit, but leaving a top brand, I would say the comfort, the certainty, the luxuries that come with working in a top hotel brand and joining an upstart, Lemon Tree. Relations aside, were there moments of doubt? What led you to join those guys?
There were no moments of doubt when I joined. After that, and you've experienced it yourself in the startups that you've had, you do have moments of doubts, and it was an entrepreneurial journey when that organization started. So as a part entrepreneur, you do have those moments of doubts and saying, did I make the right decision? Because everyone around you is saying, why would you want to do this? Why would you want to leave a brand and go to something that may happen, may not happen?
Sure.
But you had the inner belief and you had the conviction, if I can say that. And it worked.
So to youngsters watching this show, I would like you to double click on this point.
Yeah.
Had you not gone to an upstart brand, probably the accelerated career path that you had would not have happened, because in a very large organization or a legacy organization, the growth would also have been more predictable, I would say.
No doubt about it.
Why don't you double click on that? The importance of, let's say, taking a punt on something that you have a conviction on. The importance of taking those leap of faith when the opportunity knocks on your door. I think it would be very, very helpful for the youngsters who are watching the show.
So firstly, and you said it, I've had an unconventional career, and I truly believe that you should not typecast yourself as one function specialist, because there are many functions, right? And what have happened in a large organization, like you said, I would have grown one level at a time.
Every 3 years.
3 years, 5 years, 8 years. I mean, those timelines were very, very different at that point of time, right? So the gestation period was far higher. as an individual, I love to learn. I love to do different things. And when you join a startup, you get to learn with your own hands. Um, and I mean, at that time when the hotel company started, Lemon Tree, um, it was very, very meager in its spends, rightfully so, right? And I was a part project manager for the first site, and somebody who's done front office, and when he's questioned that why is the groove not right, why is the alignment not right, uh, those were words that I was learning.
Also, you came at the construction stage. The
I
hotel was
came when
not
it was.
operational.
I came when it was a hole in the ground, not even
Wow.
construction stage. I was part of the mock-up rooms, and that's when the grooves and alignment discussion happened. And I had no
Wow.
idea of what a groove is, what alignment is, what paint should be used, how do you look at a drawing. I'm just giving one example, right? And as you start building the company, you get into other than projects, you start doing sales and marketing, you start doing understanding procurement, and so on and so forth. So it's extremely important. If you do get an opportunity to work with a startup, your learning curve goes up like this and not like this. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah. And I think you guys were one hotel, 140-room hotel for the first 4 or 5 years. And then all of a sudden, something exploded, money came in, and Lemon Tree became this large multi property uh, mid scale brand. You as an individual as well, your career also reflects the rise of Lemon Tree from front office to chief operating officer in what, 15 years?
12 years.
What was the point of inflection? So the first 5 years, if one looks at the journey, it from the outside it appears to be dull, just one hotel. But I'm sure there was a lot of groundwork that was going on behind the curtains.
Yeah.
What was the inflection point? How did all of a sudden it exploded and became a category defining company in India?
So the founder Patu, if I can say, had the conviction that mid-market will take off in this country, and first mover advantage. So today you have Sarovar, you have Lemon Tree, you have Fortune, you have international brands that are in the mid-market space. We have Parkin and Sweets, we have Parkin, and so on and so forth, right? So other international players have mid-market products as well. That was the conviction. And when we started Udyog Vihar, there was another property that we got on long-term lease in city center in Gurgaon. There were two other projects in Goa and Pune, which came at relatively the right price. And that is where it started coming in. And of course, eventually, Warburg Pincus funded the company, and that's when the growth grew exponentially.
Wow. Wow. So it was macro factors and the ability of the founder and the founding team to actually see the future as well, right?
Absolutely.
Because in those days, I don't remember a lot of international brands focusing on the mid scale segment. Because the common perception was कि पैसा तो वैस में बनता है and mid scale में vast revenues are lower.
So, firstly, you're right, Vivek, and it was a time when global companies would come to India and say, cut, paste, right?
Yeah.
And I think the success of Radisson has been because it's been a global company. As an example, and I may be jumping the gun, but just as an example,
Yeah.
Radisson grew eventually because it localized itself.
Yeah.
Right? It took a long time for international companies to say that cut paste model will not work. You have to give room service here. You have to have convention facilities here. You have to have banquets here, and so on and so forth. So that evolution took time, but today I guess we are all on the same page, and you're seeing the scale in mid-scale, upscale, upper upscale hotels coming up.
Great. Let's talk about the second leg of your journey. So, chief operating officer of at Lemon Tree, already have successes under your belt. Good rapport with the founder. The company had scaled. What led you to pick up the next few assignments, which were actually turnaround assignments, by the way? It was not a cushy job where you just come and do BAU, but why get into a position where there's a huge burden of expectation on you to come and turn around thing? Your next stint.
So the next thing was actually Ginger, part of IHCL, and a lot of people told me again that Lemon Tree is a known brand, and they didn't believe in the brand Ginger, right? But at the end of the day, it is IHCL and it is part of the Tata Group. It always had the backing of Tata Capital and IHCL at that point of time, and I believed that you can turn that brand around. What led me to that decision is At Lemon Tree, I felt I wasn't learning, and it was more BAU. And you know, as an individual, you want to be challenged, right? When you need to know when it's time.
Yeah.
And in that organization, if I said A for ball, people would say A for ball, which is not a good sign eventually
Yeah.
for you as a leader and for the people that are working with you. Um, so those were the two factors that actually led me to take up this opportunity. And it was a great challenge, and I felt that if I could be a part of that team and turn that brand around, it would be a phenomenal story.
Great.
Also because the late R&T believed in two products, Nano and Ginger. So actually there was a whole series called Indie One,
Oh,
and it was supposed to stretch in all verticals: telecom, hospitality, so on and so forth, right? Of course, it got scrapped eventually, but Ginger was a baby which I truly believed could still be turned around and taken forward.
wow. So when after you decided to take the punt and
Yeah.
join Ginger, when you were actually in the line of fire when you joined, what were the first few things that you identified as your, let's say, immediate priority and midterm priority?
Yeah.
What was your understanding of something that was not working well? And take us through the, let's say, the first few months.
Um, where have I come? Why did I do this? The first few months was really connecting with the team, understanding where we are, and again, um, working with them on operational and commercial excellence.
Hmm.
And when I would tell the team members that we should aspire to be number one on TripAdvisor, people would laugh at me and say, "It's just not possible. You're competing with the luxury hotels. You don't know what product you're selling."
Hmm.
80% of the hotels within 2 years were part of Certificate of Excellence, whereas
Wow.
none of them in the first few months even believed in that, right? A few hotels became number one in the cities,
Wow.
right? Smaller cities, but they became number one on TripAdvisor,
Hmm.
because they pushed for positive guest feedback, they improved their service qualities, and so on and so forth. So that for me is the most heartening piece, if you ask me. Um, and I think what Puneet Chatwal is doing with Ginger today, and how he continues to expand and believe in that concept, is just phenomenal, because I truly believe that that brand is going to do a lot more for this country than any other domestic brand with the money that they have.
Did you turn around the experience along with growing the footprint of the brand as well?
Yeah, we were growing the brand as well, of course. That model is a different model. It's a leased and managed model.
Got it.
The
And previously it was owned.
previously, some sites were owned,
Okay.
few sites were owned, but primarily leased.
Got it.
Um, the big change, Vivek, was you came in from a startup company which was fairly stable
Sure.
to a very mature organization,
Things move slowly.
which every 3 months you have a board meeting where you have to prepare for, and you have independent directors asking you
Uh,
very um, let me just say, the quality of the questions was amazing, and you need to
yeah.
be prepared for those questions and answer it in the right fashion. So
Hmm.
so yeah, I mean, you're suddenly in a much more mature setup,
Mhm.
and being questioned for stuff that which you thought was BAU,
Yeah.
but through different lenses looks very different.
Sure. Sure. Uh, if you have to, let's say, just turn around guest experience, that's one complexity.
Yes.
But the moment you introduce growth to that complexity, then it becomes a, what I often tell my team. I tell my team to focus on only one problem at a time, because a linear equation is far more easier to solve than a quadratic equation or a polynomial equation. So go and try to solve three things at a time, most likely to fail. हाउ were you able to balance the trade off? Because जब ग्रोथ का सवाल आता है तो गेस्ट एक्सपीरियंस हैम्पर होता है. If you start focusing on quality and experience, so you may end up saying no to revenue opportunities or expansion opportunities that you would otherwise say yes to. How did you manage the two sides of the trade off?
So two or three things. It's important that you start small, you shrink to grow, right? So you start doing, I don't know, tests, for example, right? That's the first thing. Ray Kroc said something which is, if you're not green and growing, you're red and rotten.
The McDonald's founder.
The McDonald's founder, right? Um, the Reliance tagline is growth. Growth is life.
Growth is life.
Right? So they are all telling you one thing, that you need to grow, and for any
Yeah.
business to sustain itself, it has to grow. So you cannot say that first I will correct this and then I will do this. It's like life. I mean, you're a father, you're a CEO, you're a husband, you're a son, and many more things at the same time. So I truly believe life can't be linear. It has to be a series of events, and that's how you should apply the same principles in business.
Amazing. How long was your stint at Ginger, and finally, what led you to believe that your job there was largely done and you are ready for a new challenge?
Almost 5 years there. Well, the job is never done. But it was an interesting opportunity to work with a global company. Wyndham is the world's largest hotel franchising company. And that's something that I had not done, the whole franchising piece. They were fairly nascent in this part of the world. Globally, they are more than 9,000 rooms. So they have, hotels. They have more hotels than any other hotel company in the world.
Wow.
Marriott has more rooms than any other hotel company in the world. Right. So that's the difference between Wyndham and
Because
Marriott.
these people have the smaller format hotels as well.
Economy, mid-scale. That's where the mainstay is in US. And of course, they were growing their footprint across. So the opportunity to work in a much larger territory with an amazing boss, Dimitris Manikis, based out of London. He's an extremely colorful character and full of life. And the meetings with him, and one thing I've always done, I've always worked for the right boss. I've been, from that perspective, brand agnostic, and that's probably why Lemon Tree happened as an example, or Ginger happened, because I believed in the concept, I believed in the bosses there, and that's really what led me to be on this part of the journeys. And yeah, that's how Wyndham happened, and I started working at Wyndham and looking at how to grow the franchise piece in this market, because franchise continues to be nascent. It was 9-10 years ago, 7 years ago, less than 10%. Today it's 17% of all branded supply in this country, but it's growing. It should become 20-25, and it's going to be an important aspect. In the West, most of it is franchised. You have less managed and more franchise in the West. Of course, as you start coming towards East, you see more managed and less franchised.
Now, this is a interesting turnaround story, I would say. I think when you took over, they had I think the footprint was fairly small, 20 or 30 hotels.
That's right.
I would somewhat say that they were not in the first consideration set when we used to talk about, let's say, hotel chains, or even as a traveler, if I used to think about, let's say, a hotel chain to plan my vacation on. At some point of time, Wyndham did not come in the consideration set. Taking the company from that stage to a stage where it was seen all over along with other international chains and the domestic players, why don't you, for better context, why don't you take us through where the company was when you came and took over, and by the time you did your job and moved on, with what was the expanse and what was the look and feel of the company?
So firstly, when I joined, I was told, we have to go the managed route. Franchise will not work in this country. We've tried it, and we have to go managed. But the DNA of the organization doesn't permit you to do managed services, right? So we doubled down on franchise, and I said, I would like to be the number one hotel company when somebody thinks of franchise. Let's focus on franchise, and should owner need more support, we will introduce third-party operator. So what is a third-party operator? Third-party operator is someone who understands hotels, who works in hotels, represents the owner, and works with the brand, like an asset manager, but he has a larger footprint because he or she is also responsible for the sales and commercial aspect with it, along with the brand.
And you curate these service providers and introduce it to the owner?
That is correct.
Got it.
And I mean, again, if you were to, I'll compare it to US, because US is a fairly mature market, right? Most hotels there are asset managed or through a third party operator. Brands don't directly manage those hotels, right? It was only a question of time when it came to India. There were a few players, small players, who were wanting to start that, and I can say that Wyndham proudly co-created that space for them, for them to blossom. And today you have a lot of third-party operators or players in the country. So that was the model that we adopted. So to your point, I think it's important to have clarity in what you want to do. Take your time, but once you decide, push it through. And that's exactly what we did. And when I was with Wyndham, we had moved to 75 operating hotels and a fairly robust pipeline for India, and other parts, of course, other numbers.
Amazing. So almost 200% growth, more than that actually. So Nikhil, each stint that you would have done or any operator would have done, the challenges are of course unique. So there is no silver bullet. There's no playbook होती तो मतलब फिर बात ही क्या थी. But there are some core underlying principles which remain common. And when I heard the first two stories, Wyndham and Ginger, एक तो मुझे common thread दिख रहा है aligning people. And you are, of course, I would compliment that you're a fantastic people person, especially in a service-led industry. Half of the job is done if you align the right stakeholder. In case of Ginger, aligning the team to focus on coming in that a clear goal and measurable goal, I would say कि या तो आप वहाँ पे आ रहे हो टॉप 3 में ट्रैवलर्स चॉइस में या नहीं आ रहे हो, measurable. उस पर डिबेट नहीं हो सकता. And in case of Wyndham, aligning your partners, your stakeholders, the management on going in a certain route. So aligning people is one commonality that I see. What are some of the other common principles that you have acquired throughout your career and you believe is applicable in multiple scenarios that helped you scale in your career as you did?
It's a great question. If I think about it, there is no substitute for hard work. Extremely important for people to understand.
Sure.
Because the grass is always greener on the other side, and they will look at Vivek and Nikhil and say, XYZ. But you have to continue to work hard.
Sure.
You have to continue to hustle, if that's the right word. And you have to continue to believe in yourself and have the passion to go on. It's extremely important. Agar you don't like the work you're doing, quit. Do something that you like doing, because if you don't like it, you're not going to move ahead. It's just a job.
Very interesting take, and we'll come to other aspect of your life during the course of this podcast. But for our viewers, hard work and passion, no substitute for that. And Nikhil here is not a person who has not lived other aspects of the life. We'll double click on those aspects: runner, into meditation, family man, and beside that, somebody who is incredibly focused on his career and very passionate about what he does. Anyways, we'll double click on that during the later part of the conversation. Let's talk about your current stint now, Nikhil. How did it happen when the opportunity first came to you? What was compelling about this role at Radisson that made you make up your mind to pick it up?
So if you look at hospitality, and I'll remove Americas as a growth phase region, I truly believe there are three markets that are growing globally: Saudi Arabia, India, Bharat, Indonesia. The choice was natural for me to look at an organization that is doubling down in this space, larger footprint, and the opportunity to double it and grow it in India. I mean, we are today in 75 locations. We will move to 114 locations. So I use the word local. Other than one other domestic player, we are the only other hotel company to be in so many locations. We are definitely the only international hotel brand to have a Hindi website. Probably even the only hotel company in India. I'll have to check a few domestic brands, but so far we are the only hotel brand that has a Hindi website, for example. So it just tells you, the opportunity that is there in this country and the belief that this organization has in this region to grow this region. So that was the big, let me just say, big upside in wanting to have this role.
Sure. Would love to hear some anecdotes about this local things. I'll share one. So I was talking to one of a very senior person from one of the international hotel chains. Of course, I would not name the chain, but their first entry into India was with a mindset that you can replicate the product that has worked in all other markets.
Sure.
So they forgot to put a health faucet in the toilet
Yeah.
in their hotels, and the gentleman acknowledged that the product tanked because a health faucet culturally was so essential to a country like India, but the management outside somehow failed to acquire that context. Eventually, they relaunched with a health faucet.
Yeah.
So simple things like a health faucet uh, could actually mean making a actually so understanding of cultural nuance and then customizing your product basis that. What are some of these anecdotes about the Radisson's hotel group that you can share with us? By the way, did you have a hotel health faucet outside the country?
No, no, but that's exactly the point, right? I mean, what you hear for India is true, and what you don't hear for India is also true, right? We are like a metaverse in ourselves. I mean, it is actually a continent if you were to look at it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
each state is so different from the other.
absolutely.
Culturally, everything is different. But lots of anecdotes for Radisson Radisson Hotel. Um, but the good thing is today Radisson enjoys that brand equity in the country. It's as domestic as international. So most Indians grow up thinking Bata is an Indian company. I think Radisson is in that zone today where people have that proximity, closer, and when they look at going abroad, one of the choices would be a Radisson just because of the scale that we have in this country, and that we continue to expand into tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities. So um, that's one of the first punts that Radisson took in going into tier 2 cities. Current inventory, 54% of it is in actually tier 2 cities. Future pipeline is growing to 56%. Tier 3 was 10%, is 10%, but that's growing exponentially. It's at 26, 27% in the future. So you're seeing a clear shift in growth in tier 2, tier 3 cities. Of course, I'm not taking leisure destinations as a tier 2, tier 3 because leisure destinations have their own nuances. I mean, we opened a hotel in Ayodhya 3 days before the Ram Mandir, and that hotel was clocking. It's a 3-star product, Parkin. It was clocking 1.5 lakh rupees a night at 100% occupancy for the first few weeks. Of course, it's now settled. It's about 18,000 rupees at 97-98% occupancy. This month is special because of the Kumbh Mela again. So spiritual travel will continue to grow. But yeah, we are doubling down on spiritual travel as well in this part of the world.
Very amazing. Nikhil, for the sake of our viewers, why don't you take us through product portfolio? What
Yeah.
are the various brands and products that you have in India? Uh, which TG does each product cater to in terms of, let's say, dollar per room night, etc.? And in each product segment, who is your biggest peer or competitor, so to say, so that we have a fair understanding of what this mammoth group is in India?
So we are, I'll give you the big number first. We are 130 operating hotels at the moment. We'll finish this year at 150 operating hotels. So we'll open 20 hotels
Wow.
in the next 11 odd months.
So that puts you as the second largest hotel chain.
We are the second largest international hotel player at the moment. But the others are growing as well, right? So we'll see where we end up at the end of the year.
But 130 are operational.
130 operational. Okay. That is correct. And just on your pricing piece, I'll answer that because it's easier. It is market dependent. A 3-star market hotel like the Parkin in Ayodhya, for example, is commanding a rate which metros are not commanding today. It's location specific, right? So demand supply will continue in the next 3 to 4 years to be at a mismatch, and a lot of metros and so on and so forth will continue to have higher prices. On the brands piece, our mid-scale product is called Parkin and Suites that we just introduced last year, and we've opened 2 of them. And then we have something called Parkin, which is an upscale product. Our growth has been Radisson and Radisson Blue. Those are our main brands as upscale and upper upscale. And last year we introduced our luxury collection, which is called Radisson Collection. It's in Srinagar, and from a classified hotel numbers, India is still at around 200,000. Now, let me zoom into Srinagar as a location, right, and talk about collection. Srinagar received 1 crore tourists last year,
Wow.
right? In the luxury space, one would imagine that there would be more hotels. The two hotels that operate in Srinagar, other than us, their total inventory is 200 keys. We opened a hotel with 212 keys, double the inventory in that city, in that space, in the luxury space.
Wow.
But that said, Srinagar has only 412 keys as of today in the luxury space. So it tells you the growth opportunity that this country has to offer.
Sure.
Um, and I truly believe that India from 200,000 keys will go to a million keys in the next 5, 7, 10 years, depending on when you see these construction finishing in various cities.
Nikhil, I was speaking to one of your peers in the industry, and we were talking about how the hospitality, especially when it comes to the branded hotel inventory, has evolved in the country. Some 20 years ago, the thought process was to build upper upscale and luxury properties only because people used to think that's where the money lies. Uh, and we saw all these, I would say, I don't know what's the right term for it, but big box hotel. So 400, 500 key inventory. Uh, do you think that format is still relevant in India today, except let's say for a few pockets like a Bombay or in some locations which can, or a Goa, which can really absorb that kind of an inventory? Because humongous effort in terms of identifying space, building a 400, 500 key hotel, then waiting for another 3 years to achieve a 60% occupancy on that kind of inventory. Or do you think the time has come when the smaller, nimble hotel format will grow more rapidly than the big box ones?
So there's a market for both. Let me explain this to you. India is a 70 key market, averaged out, right? So it was 60, it's moved to 70. Um, our last year average room count of all the signings, the 27, 29 signings that we did, was 142 keys. So I don't know where you would put it as a large box or not. There are only 3 or 4 sites that are more than 300 keys, 400 keys that you see. The big boxes coming up near the airport and so on and so forth. But that's the small end. So globally, luxury is 10% of the market, right? In India, it was the reverse, because one has to also understand that India is new to hospitality, right? Really, other than the Taj Mahal Mumbai, we didn't have a hotel. It's only after independence that you started seeing hotels in this country, and they were part of the luxury set and not mid-scale economy, because Indians treated hotels as a luxury item. Whereas in the West or even China, for example, they were always treated as part of infrastructure. So it's a mindset difference that has evolved, right? The long answer to your question, or the short answer to your question, is mid-scale hotels will continue to grow, and that's where the growth is, which is the 60, 70, 80 key hotels. But you will also see banqueting facilities with them, because 1.42 billion people, we love getting married, and we need social spaces, and we love doing events, and we love doing retirement parties, right? You don't see retirement parties in the West. And I'm just giving small nuances, cultural differences in this country, right? So you will see growth in mid-scale, you will see growth in upscale. Of course, you will see growth in luxury, but because of the asset size and what you said, it will be much slower than mid-scale and upscale in sheer numbers.
Makes sense. Because in every segment that you operate, there are both international competitors as well as now some of the scaled homegrown companies. What's your USP compared to, in any, we can pick any segment, for example, to
Sure.
double click on the point, compared to your peers in the industry?
Yeah.
USP to a traveler like us, or an USP to when your development team goes and speaks to an asset owner?
So I'll tell you what our vision is as an organization, and I think it's important to link it to that, right? And that becomes the USP. We want to be in the top 3 recall when it comes to a guest, when it comes to an owner, and when it comes to an employee, right? Now, there are various facets under each, and what we are doing in each space to make sure that we are there.
Sure.
But that's really, if you ask me, the ethos that guides us, and the USP. So I can speak in various pillars on what we are doing, but I think the service philosophy that Radisson has, and we call it every moment matters, and ensuring that we do that at the level, executing it day in day out with, and at least the objective is trying executing it with every guest. Um, that's what makes us different from others.
Sure, sure. Uh, Nikhil, when you took up this role, w- what was there a charter given to you on something that needs to be fixed or something that needs to be focused on over other aspect, top three priorities? Would and if this is something that you could share with us, that would
Yeah.
help us understand the group's strategy and priorities in a better way. Uh, Please help us with that.
Well, so for one thing, I have an amazing boss, Chema Bastaricha, um, and he just said, "Run with it." So yeah, it was a discovery at your own self, the first 100 days, and I think first 100 days are extremely important when you join an organization, because there's so much to imbibe, learn, understand culturally, where the organization is, where each function is, and so on and so forth, right? Um, but our business is not too different. If you focus commercially, operationally, and on operational excellence, you are there. RHG has a lot of tools globally that were available. So one of the things that I think what we've been able to do successfully is integrate more with the global tools, make sure that there's better synergy. Of course, there'll be an 80-20 principle, right? India is special from that perspective. I mean, I'll give you another example. And we spoke about spiritual tourism as an example, right? You don't see Indians going for their first vacation. I don't know, where was your first vacation, if you remember? Do you remember?
Manali,
Manali.
we
But
bought a second-hand Maruti 800 and
as a kid,
no, four friends in an engineering college.
four friends. But as a
Yeah.
kid, your parents would have probably taken to a
Yeah,
spiritual
yeah, exactly.
destination.
Puri,
There you
yeah,
are,
yeah, yeah.
right? You would have gone to a spiritual destination rather than a
Yes,
hills destination or a beach destination.
absolutely.
We are culturally different. We are very, very spiritual, right? So those nuances need to be factored in and respected in hotels. Just as an example, right? Or the second example, let me give you is multi generational travel. We travel with our grandparents, we travel with our parents or our kids, and so on and so forth. There are very few communities globally that do that, not only in the country but outside the country. So those nuances of when you're building a hotel, it may sound very simple, but making sure that there are enough twin rooms available on the same floor next to each other to a queen bed is a small item, but it's an extremely important item, because you
Yeah,
will have families that come
yeah.
and they will ask for rooms that are interconnecting or on the same floor. You can't, those are the challenges, or that every time you're building a hotel, that you have to be mindful of.
Very interesting. Uh, let's get back to you, Nikhil.
Yeah.
I also would like to think of leaders as brands and products. So leaders are brand in themselves as well. And as a brand and as a product, you have appealed to three different kind of stakeholders. Promoters, Patu Elementary, so homegrown Indian promoter. Then a very, very professional board, Ginger, one of the legacy organization. I'm assuming it would be very, very different from working with Patu, who would
Oh,
be a
yeah.
very
So don't,
hands-on promoter. And
no doubt
now
about that.
an international chain. How were you able to successfully sell a common product and a common brand to these three very different segments?
So I think as individuals, we have to adapt,
Yeah,
right? And you have to be willing to adapt to the
exactly.
various situations. I mean, I'm still learning to adapt with my 16-year-old daughter, um, as an example. And I try to pick up some words that she's saying. And when I say them, she says, "Dad, don't say them." I say, "Why?" Because they don't sound right from your mouth. But yeah, I mean, we try, right? So you try to adapt. That's the first thing that you do. You have to be open to suggestions. You have to listen to your people. But then you have to take a decision, and then you have to have everyone back you on those decisions and take the team along. So I think at the end of the day, if you can do that as an individual, um, that probably could
Sure.
be the secret sauce. I don't know. I mean, I didn't think of it the way you just said it, But since you said it, I'm thinking about it out loud
No,
now.
but actually, you made a very pertinent point. How we expect brands like Radisson to adapt to the local nuances and local situations. As individuals, the onus, or as leaders, the onus is also on us. That when we walk into a new situation, we don't come with preconceived notions or hard lines about how things work, but also adapt to the new culture, new situation. Uh, because see, any brand or any organization, while when you walk into a new role as a leader, it's very tempting to think of कि पहले जिसने अभी तक किया है सब गलत है. But there is decades of sweat and blood invested in the setup. गलत सही सब कुछ into taking the setup to where it is today.
Yeah.
So adapting first, respecting what it is today, before jumping on and thinking where do you want to take it, is a crucial part of any leader's success. So I think you're spot on.
I think what I'll add there is you need, as a leader, you need to have a strong opinion, but the conviction should be loosely held. I.e., when you listen to your people, your conviction and your opinion could change, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be my way and this is the only way, but you also navigate and you learn how to navigate with your team.
Very interesting. I love the way you put it. Nikhil, tell me something. And this question is actually that I have pondered upon and faced myself and my career various times. When, as an executive, you are put in a CEO, CXO role, in a new role, especially in setups where things are not exactly going how they are supposed to be, there is tremendous pressure on you to deliver quick wins in the near term.
Yes.
There may be strategies that could help you win in the long run. 2 साल में 3 साल में अगर आप X करोगे, then you will take the organization where it should go. बट 3 साल का पेशेंस कई बार एग्जीक्यूटिव्स में भी नहीं होता है, कई बार आपके स्टेक होल्डर्स या बोर्ड या प्रमोटर में भी नहीं होता है. एंड देन इट बिकम्स अबाउट बैलेंसिंग की क्विक विंस दिखाएं, focus on what can give you early result, or focus on things which will help you win the game in the long run. How do you balance that conflict?
So we are not publicly listed, but my previous 2 organizations were publicly listed. One thing that is clear, Vivek, is that we live in a world of quarters, right? While the long-term goal is there, there is a quarter goal that you have to reach. So you have to, for lack of a better word, you have to have the vision to do this, but you have to have the small wins in between, right? So life is a marathon, but there's many sprints to that marathon, and you have to ensure that those sprints are happening on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a bi-weekly basis, for you to achieve the final goals. And you have to break down your goals into smaller pieces and make sure that the team is delivering with you on those smaller goals.
Sure. Nikhil, let's talk about the industry in general. You have been in the industry for more than 2 decades now.
Yes.
Through your lens as a duty manager to the managing director, why don't you take us through some of the key pivotal moments that reshaped the industry from what it was some years ago? Why don't you take us through some key milestones, some pivotal moments?
Well, so I think firstly, because you see growth in this industry, the industry is ready for change, right? And the industry evolves. Now, I won't talk about how the industry is lobbying about infrastructure status, or how 7 years ago when the GST was set, it was set at 7,500 at 18%. It still continues to be at 7,500 non-inflation adjusted, whereas, the world has moved on, and those challenges still exist as an industry, and we continue to lobby for that. But the long and short of it is, the pandemic, the industry wasn't kind to its team members, right? And I think that was a wake-up call for the industry, and it's evolved. So whether it is more offs at the unit, 6 offs in the units, or flexibility at workspace, or corporate office work from home for some colleagues, the whole concept of more flexibility has come in. One thing which I think most organizations today are focused on is diversity and inclusivity. So at Radisson, we are very, very focused on diversity, and we want to have more women executives in senior positions, So Vivek, what happens in hospitality is you see a lot of women at the shop floor,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But it's a pyramid and it keeps filtering down, and suddenly on the top you have less women. So we are extremely focused on having more women leaders in our organization as we speak. Um, so in the last 10 months, from 2 women GMs, we are now up to 5 women GMs. And I can tell you it's a journey and it's a challenge. Out of the 130 hotels, there are only 5 women GMs that we have. But we've doubled it in 10 months, right? I'd like to have many folds, but it's also ensuring that there is more diversity of thought in the unit. There's more inclusivity, and there's more togetherness or camaraderie, if I may say that. So those are aspects that the industry is continuing to involve in. I think the industry has been hit in the last few years on pay parity, but the industry is moving forward and ensuring better pay parity. Also, at the units, the numbers have come down pre and post COVID, right, or the pandemic. You can afford to pay better. The EBITDA margins are far higher. Your ADRs are far higher in most markets. So those are things that are positive changes, if you ask me, and we will continue to make positive changes. And the industry per se is very human centric because we are in the business of people, right? So there's a lot of community service that hotels end up doing that they don't speak of, but I think that is now being recognized and also being spoken of.
Sure. I really appreciate the honesty with which you accepted the real issue when it comes to diversity. Because if we treat diversity as a checkbox, then I would say that any hotel chain can tom about the fact that participation of women in the labor force is high in this industry. That's the nature of this industry. But it's at the entry level. How many of them actually grow to become even property general managers? Forget about being administrator in the corporate. That that as you said, that pyramid is, I mean, very few people are able to make it, and I really appreciate the honesty with which you accepted it, and you also acknowledged your efforts on changing the situation. On that note, Nikhil, I would share a personal observation with you. So when I did my schooling, hotel management used to be one of the most aspirational career tracks. Many of my friends uh, actually went for this job role. Some of them got through IHM, and IHM was supposed to be this life-altering, I would say, pathway for people. And that's of course many years ago, more than 20 years ago. Now, I've seen a very drastic change in these 20 years. We run a skilling company, and in order to create a funnel for my if let's say skilling courses, we go to schools and we do career counseling of 12th class students. So last year we counseled about 2 lakh students on which career path they should
Bravo.
take after class 12th. That's how we get students to go for our courses. I have seen a drastic dip in the number of people proactively asking for hospitality as a career path. Uh, I was also going through some reports. Of course, I am an outsider, but even the most prestigious institutions like IHM have seen a dip in their enrollment number. Pandemic is one, of course, we could have treated our people better. But what are some of the 2 or 3 things that you feel has led to some extent, I would not say love lost, but let's say has created a dent on this industry as a preferred choice of employment for freshers coming out of 12th class?
So one thing is, of course, the pandemic, right, and the impact that it had. But I think that tide eventually will change. But if you look at it from a grassroots level, Vivek, let's take the IT industry as an example. 20 years ago, IT companies started working with engineering colleges,
Yeah.
right, and making sure that the colleges are ready from an employability perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, that didn't happen with hotel management in this part of the world,
Sure.
right? And I think that's where hotel management in the last 20 years got left behind, because the colleges continued to work in a certain fashion away from the industry, and the industry continued to evolve, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the good news there is under the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Shekhawat. He opened up the IHMs to corporates,
Yeah.
hotel companies. So we've adopted 4 colleges as we speak.
Oh, wow.
And we are going to be working with those colleges and making sure that they are not only future ready, but ready for today as well, right? Because these colleges are still stuck in the past. So we need to bring them to the present and give them the tools for the future. So the industry is woken up. Hotel companies are doing this. Of course, I would want to congratulate the government and Ministry of Tourism for taking this initiative, because the IHMs report in to the Ministry of Tourism, right? And for them to be forward thinking in this aspect is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Makes sense. On that note, I will share a personal experience, and this is from your own brand. So like you, I am also a father to a daughter. My daughter is much younger though. She's 6 years old. So Elsa is her favorite. She wanted to visit Disneyland. And I went, the nearest hotel to Disneyland is a Radisson. So I went and stayed there. And of course,
Which city is this?
it's Paris.
This is Paris. Okay.
Yeah.
Euro Disney.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know very little about Elsa and the other characters, but my daughter is a big fan. So we stayed at this Radisson property, which was right next to the Disneyland. And I think it was a Radisson Blue. And I've stayed in the Radisson Blue in India as well. Infra-wise, there is sanitization. But I would say when you look at service quality,
There's no comparison.
There's no comparison. I mean, the level of hospitality that you see in the same property in India, I think it's 2 notches above, not just 1 notch. So, Nikhil, there is one observation that I'm not able to reconcile with. Whenever I speak to people like you, senior industry leaders from hospitality, I keep on hearing the common feedback that it's difficult for you to hire skilled workers. I mean, लोग एजुकेशन पाइपलाइन से आ रहे हैं कॉलेजेस और यूनिवर्सिटी से, बट डे वन पे व्हेन यू हायर देम दे आर नॉट इमीडिएटली डिप्लॉयबल और इमीडिएटली प्रोडक्टिव. वेयर एज इन अ कंट्री जहाँ पे अगर हॉस्पिटैलिटी जैसे इंडस्ट्री में रॉ मटेरियल ही लोग हैं, तो हमारे पास तो 140 करोड़ लोग हैं, और द मीडियन एज इज ऑल्सो समथिंग दैट एग्जैक्टली सूट्स यू, यंग पीपल 20, 25, 26. सो इन अ कंट्री जहाँ पे रॉ मटेरियल अबंडेंस में अवेलेबल है, हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल दैट industry is facing shortage of skilled people? Because ऐसा तो नहीं है कि सबके पास नौकरियां हैं. So what do you think is the reason?
So 2 parts to this, Vivek. First, anyone who's doing hotel management wants to start in the management cadre, doesn't want to start at the front of the house. So वो challenge है और वो challenge रहेगा, right? The industry needs people from a skilling perspective.
Yeah.
Right? And that is where hotel management companies cannot, or institutes cannot play that role. You need a new infrastructure. You need a new setup, right? We need companies like Emversity to facilitate that skilling for hotel companies to scale up in that level. वो gap जो है ना, कि like you said, लोग हैं, नौकरियां नहीं हैं, और नौकरियां की ज़रूरत है. So you have all the ingredients, but you need that chef to make that dish.
Yeah.
And I think, so for example, what we are doing at the moment, we are partnering with the THSC, which is Tourism Hospitality Skilling Council, right? Yeah. And we're working with them to skill 200 students. But that's a drop in the ocean. But it's our way of ensuring that we move in a certain direction.
Yeah.
But can I make that 200 to 500 to 1,000 to 2,000? And I want to do it not only for RHG as an organization. I want to make sure that we give back to hospitality, and that talent is available for everyone, right? So that's, one may call it CSR, where one may call it giving back to the community. But at the end of the day, you're creating an ecosystem that the industry needs and is also serving the nation to a large degree, because we have the talent and they don't have the jobs. And this is an industry which we spoke of earlier, is very scalable for anyone with very basic degrees. So somebody who's passed out from Emversity with a college degree tomorrow could be a general manager in 7 to 10 years from now.
I love how the brand plug came from you in this part. निखिल, एक मुझे ये भी लगता है कि थोड़ा expectation mismatch भी है. For example, when we talk to the candidates that we work with, 12th class students who are contemplating which industry to choose. लोग हॉस्पिटैलिटी के नाम पे थोड़ा डर जाते हैं बिकॉज इट्स अ 6 डे वर्क. शिफ्ट फुल शिफ्ट हो गई 10-11 घंटे की. तो कमिटमेंट है अर्ली ईयर्स में यार 66 आवर्स का काम क्यों करें या कैसे करेंगे. uh, मेरा इसमें अपना पर्सपेक्टिव है. इफ़ यू आर टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस इंडस्ट्री अर्ली ईयर्स में तो करना ही पड़ता है. ये करे बिना कैरेक्टर बनता नहीं है, ये करे बिना इंडस्ट्री बनता नहीं है. एवरी वन कांट गेट अ ऑफिस जॉब और अ वाइट कॉलर जॉब. बट एक दूसरा पर्सपेक्टिव मैंने ये भी देखा है कि कॉलेजेस और यूनिवर्सिटीज़ भी शुरू में एक्सपेक्टेशन अलाइन नहीं करते हैं.
Correct.
एंड हेंस होता क्या है कि if 100 people are joining hospitality related programs, उसमें से eventually people who be a part of the workforce is not, I would say 50. बाकी वो ड्रॉप हो जाते हैं, दूसरी इंडस्ट्रीज में चले जाते हैं. डू यू थिंक दैट एक्सपेक्टेशन अलाइनमेंट इज ऑल्सो इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर दिस इंडस्ट्री?
हाँ, from all avenues, from hotel companies, from institutes, from skilling centers, and at even the schools. I think आप जब तक वो ecosystem complete नहीं करोगे, you will not get the right talent with the right expectations. Plus, but so globally, 40% attrition in this industry is a norm,
Wow.
right? So it's a high attrition in this industry. Some things that I think will eventually change is there's a lot of talk of gig economy, moonlighting. We can't do it in this country in hospitality, but I think this industry has that opportunity for somebody who wants to earn while they are in college. They could be doing another course. They could be doing BTech, for example, but want to earn and only has 2 hours or 4 hours. He or she could do I don't know, breakfast service in a hotel close by.
Oh, how they do in the West, of
How
course.
they do in the West. I think that is the next evolution that will happen in skilling, and gig economy will come into hospitality in this part of the world. It's only a question of time. Of course, there's some government restrictions, but once those government restrictions ease, we should also start seeing evolution in that. And I think that, it's great money for somebody who's working in a college or studying in a college.
By the way, do you compete for talent with the new and very fast emerging QSR industry? Is it the same talent pool that you're trying to tap into, or
We
it's different?
compete with retail, we compete with hospitals, we compete with QSR. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the same talent pool at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's all part of the service industry.
Makes sense. Let's come to the last round of the podcast, Nikhil. This is the rapid fire.
Huh.
We know the drill. Questions, candid answer, whatever first comes to your mind.
How many words do you want the answer in?
Short answers, but yeah, please feel free to answer it in a way that the viewers would get engaged. So my first question is, what would be your one piece of advice to Nikhil of 2025 who is standing behind the front of his desk? How is the recipe for going from there to MD position same? Has it changed over the year? What would be your one advice to that person?
My one advice at that time would be have more patience. There is much more in life. That's the one advice.
Interesting. What's the favorite hotel in India that you have stayed in?
Actually, it's a non-chain hotel. It's a hotel in Jaisalmer called Suryagarh. And the level of service and the F&B that hotel has in an offbeat destination is just phenomenal. I mean, you don't get that kind of service and F&B experience in metros that hotel is able to deliver in a remote location. So for me, that's a beautiful hotel.
What's your, if you were to pick, and you were to pick only one, what's your favorite Radisson property in India?
In India, only one.
Yeah. I know otherwise your answer would have been that you love all your properties, but let's pick only one.
Well, the one of the Goa hotels. We have 5 hotels in Goa. So, yeah.
What is one trend that you see emerging in hospitality that you are most excited about?
One big trend that I see emerging in hospitality that I'm most excited about. The willingness of hotel companies wanting to skill employees for the future and grow talent within and externally. I think that is one big trend that I see. And I'm personally very passionate towards.
What's your dream vacation?
Dream vacation.
Dream vacation destination, or what sort of experience?
It actually my wife decides. So I go wherever she says,
Oh,
and the kids. So I don't know. I mean, it really depends on more on them. And in our roles, we travel so much that it's time for them to decide where they want to go.
convince me in one line to take up Vipassana.
In one word, it's life changing.
Very interesting. What would be one milestone or one legacy that you would want to leave behind by the time you hang your boots as a professional?
To see team members who have worked with you to ensure that they have grown and taken on larger responsibilities, whether within the company or externally in other organizations, and to see their growth. That, for me, would give me peace.
What's the hardest aspect of your job?
Oh, there are multiple parts to it. Tough conversations with some people.
What's one item on your personal to-do list that you have not been able to check for the longest time?
Um, there are actually two. One is base camp of Mount Everest, and the second is Kailash Mansarovar.
Ah. Who has been the greatest influence on you as a hotelier?
Professionally, personally.
Professionally?
Professionally, again, I've been fortunate to have amazing mentors, right? So each one of them has contributed in my career. So I wouldn't name one. Personally, I think my wife, Sakshi, she's been the rock, and it's extremely important, Vivek, for you to have a partner who understands um, the work that you do and the time that you do and spend at your work, because only because of her support have I been able to grow. So that's a extremely important aspect in my life.
What's one Gen Z lingo that you have recently learned?
Oh, this one I'll have to pass.
Okay. What's one new hype?
Which is the one you've learned latest?
My daughter is, I think, just 6. So I think it would come from teenagers, I would suppose.
Well, okay. The one I use most, okay, is called IDK.
What's that?
I don't know.
Oh, wow. That's new for me. Okay. Uh, did you guys know about this? IDK? Yeah, okay. So,
Yeah, when you ask my son, what do you want for dinner? IDK. It's like, what is IDK? I don't know.
Okay. What's one hyped new fad that you don't understand?
One hyped new fad that I don't understand. I don't know.
Okay. You have been a great guest, Nikhil, and it was an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I'm sure a lot of youngsters and people considering hospitality as a career, people who are already in the hospitality industry, would have found this conversation as inspiring as I found it. Thank you for finding time. Thank you for speaking with us. It was an absolute pleasure to host you, Nikhil.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.